When I agreed to move into this house, I had a strange feeling of leaving something behind, but not finding something new. The old house on the outskirts of town seemed like the perfect escape from the endless hustle and bustle. Lily was delighted, a large kitchen, a cozy living room, a spacious bedroom. I liked the fact that the neighbors are far away, and the forest is literally under the windows. But after a week I realized that something was wrong. For the first time we enjoyed the peace. Lily was busy setting up the house, I was busy working remotely. It seemed like the perfect place to start from scratch. But everything changed the night I first felt that breath. I woke up suddenly, as if someone had poked me in the shoulder. The room was dark, but the moonlight was shining through the curtains, drawing long shadows on the walls. I was lying on my side when I felt something warm and wet against my neck. It was as if someone had exhaled into my ear. Turning sharply, I looked around the room empty. Just silence, muffled sounds from the street, and my heart pounding in my chest. I sat up on the bed, running my hand along the back of my neck. The skin was cold, but the sensation of breathing remained. I looked at the clock, 3 in the morning. I sat there for a couple minutes, trying to make sense of what was happening, then I went back to bed, thinking it was a dream. The next morning, I told Lily. She looked at me with a slight sneer. "Did you come into the bedroom at night?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm. She grinned. "No. I sleep in the other room altogether, in case you forgot." After the last fight, she decided to move into the guest bedroom, to give each other space. "That's weird," I muttered. "You're just tired," Lily rolled her eyes. "You're always thinking about things." I didn't argue, but a feeling of unease settled inside. Maybe I am tired. Or maybe I was just dreaming. At night I lay down alone again. I fell asleep quickly, it had been a busy day, and my head was buzzing with endless calls. But at some point I woke up again. This time, the sensation was stronger, as if someone had leaned over me and breathed out on my neck for a long time. My heart clenched, and I felt a sharp chill all over my body. I jumped up, turned on the light, no one again. I sat on the bed, trying to slow my breathing. Had I imagined it? But the feeling was so real that I started to panic. Lily walked into the room, squinting against the light. "Are you shining your light at night again?" she muttered. "I was dreaming about something," I lied. She sighed and left, and I sat in silence. The next day I decided to figure it out. I started searching the internet for articles about sleep paralysis. Maybe it's just my brain playing tricks on me. I came across a few discussions, people wrote about feeling breathing nearby, but not being able to move. So it could be a dream. But then why do I wake up and feel it even after getting out of bed? By late afternoon, I was so exhausted from my thoughts that I decided to put my phone on record. If it's just a hallucination, there won't be any sound. I put the device on my bedside table, turned on the recording and went to bed. That night I heard nothing. I fell into a deep sleep, as if my body had decided to take a break from paranoia. First thing in the morning, I checked the tape. Flipped through the first few hours, nothing. Silence, just my breathing. I was about to turn it off, but in the last few seconds I heard something strange. A voice. Barely audible, as if from far away. "You forgot. I'm here." I froze. I played the tape again, and yes, there was a voice. Not mine. Not Lily's. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I didn't know what to do, should I show it to Lily or not? I decided I'd try to figure it out on my own first. But when Lily came in with coffee, I couldn't take it anymore. "You need to hear this." She listened to the tape, rolled her eyes. "It's just some noise. You're being paranoid. It's not a noise. It's a voice. Dan, you're really exhausted. Get some rest." Her calmness was freaking me out. How could she not realize that this wasn't normal? But what was more disturbing was that she didn't look me in the eye when she spoke. I was left alone in the room, trying to figure out what was going on. If this isn't a dream, not a hallucination, then what is it? Why do I hear breathing? Why does the voice claim to be here? I opened my laptop, diving back into my search for answers. In an article on one of the forums I came across a strange comment. Sometimes someone else's breathing is not a dream, but a sign that someone else is in the room. I cringed. Lily's right, I'm going crazy. But then why is everything so real? That evening, when Lily lay down in the other room, I locked the door with the latch and turned on the tape again. This time I decided that if I heard anything again, I'd go to my neighbor. He was always out at night with a flashlight. Maybe he'd noticed something strange, too. I went to bed, but sleep didn't come. A feeling of uneasiness ran through my nerves. I tried to breathe evenly, not to show my fear to myself. But when I felt the warm breath on my neck again, I froze, trying not to move. It was long, slow. And then the words again, just a little audible. You forgot. I jumped up, turned on the light, and realized that I would never be able to sleep in this house again. The next morning, I felt like I'd had a nightmare. My eyes hurt from lack of sleep, my thoughts were jumbled. I sat in the kitchen with a cup of cold coffee, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. Lily walked into the kitchen without even looking at me. She silently started the coffee machine and leaned on the table, waiting. You didn't sleep again? She threw over her shoulder. Didn't you hear anything last night? I asked cautiously. Dan, I'm tired of your paranoia. Maybe it's time to see a doctor. I felt like I'd been hit with the words. She didn't realize how serious it was. I saw the way she looked away, the way she avoided my questions. It was so unlike her. I wanted to tell her about breathing yesterday, but I knew she'd think I was crazy again. All day I walked around the house like a ghost, pondering everything that had happened. Why did I turn on the tape? To make sure I wasn't imagining things. But the voice was real. I decided I had to try again, but this time I had to be better prepared. I ordered an inexpensive camera with a night mode and decided to install it in the bedroom. By evening, Lily was getting ready to go to her friend's house. I felt strangely relieved when she left. Left alone, I started setting up the camera on a shelf so that it would capture the whole room. At that moment, a flashlight beam flashed outside the window. I walked to the window and saw my neighbor Jack walking leisurely down the street. He looked wary, like he was guarding something. I stepped out onto the porch and waved at him. Jack stopped, looked around, and only then approached. Evening, Dan. Can't sleep? He asked, raising the flashlight so the light wouldn't glare. Yeah. Some strange noises at night. Breathing, footsteps. I mumbled. Jack sighed, leaned against the fence and lowered his voice. Did you hear it too? I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Heard what? I clarified. Breathing. Footsteps. Like someone walking through the house when no one was there. He spoke so confidently that I froze in place. Did it have something to do with the house? I asked, trying not to show fear. There was a couple who lived here before you. The guy was okay, but he complained about his wife all the time. Said she was strange. At night, someone would stand at his bedside and breathe in his face. I thought he was joking. And then one day he was just gone. His wife said he was gone. Jack looked at me carefully. You and Lily aren't fighting? He asked. We. Yeah, sometimes, I answered, not knowing how to respond. Here's the deal. If you start to notice her coming into the bedroom at night, even though she claims to sleep in the other room, don't trust her. Those words made me shudder. I thanked Jack and went back inside. The neighbor's words kept coming out of my mind, don't trust her. Why would he say that? Lily came home late, but I pretended to be asleep. When I heard her footsteps outside the door, I held my breath. She walked into the bathroom, then into the kitchen, and then into her room. I didn't hear a single suspicious sound, but my anxiety only increased. I checked the camera, it was recording. Now all I had to do was wait. As I lay in the dark, I tried to ignore every rustle. But as soon as I dozed off, I felt it again. Breathing. Slow, heavy. I huddled under the blanket, afraid to move. I felt like if I opened my eyes, I'd see something that would destroy everything. My heart was pounding, and my legs were cramped with fear. I felt someone standing next to the bed. Suddenly, there was a click, the camera caught movement. I couldn't stand it any longer, I jumped up, turned on the light. The room was empty. I looked around every corner, checked the locks. Lily continued to sleep in the other room. I couldn't sleep until morning. When Lily woke up, I immediately grabbed my camera and watched the tape, trying not to show her my excitement. Long hours of silence. But at the 3:23 mark, I saw her, Lily, standing by my bed. Just standing there and watching. She leaned over to me and whispered something unintelligible, then quietly ran her hand over my cheek and said, "Why don't you wake up? Why are you always asleep?" I rewound and watched it again. It was all happening again. Lily was leaving, quietly closing the door behind her. But she said she slept through the night. Why did she come to see me? And why was her voice so cold? When I tried to talk to her, Lily replied irritably, "I didn't come over to your place at night. Don't start that again." "But I saw the tape. You came in." Lily froze, her eyes widening. She looked away again, as if she didn't want to talk about it. I started to wonder maybe the camera was glitching. But then why did it feel like she was lying? Why doesn't she want to discuss? And why do I feel like there's something wrong in this house? All day I tried to work, but my thoughts kept returning to the nightmare. Jack wouldn't get out of my head either. He was talking about that guy's disappearance, maybe his wife really was connected to that. What if Lily was acting the same way now? That evening, I noticed Lily locking her door. I realized, she's afraid, too. But of whom? Of me? Or the one who comes at night? At night, I turned on the tape again. This time I left a small flashlight by the bed. If anything happened, I had to be ready. I lay awake for a long time, listening to the silence, until I realized that someone was at the door. I lifted myself up, trying not to make a noise. A shadow behind the door. It seemed to move slowly, listening to my every move. I froze, trying not to breathe. And then I heard it again. "You forgot." I didn't know how long I sat on the bed after I heard the whisper. The voice was quiet, like it was coming from underwater. I tried to calm down, but panic was pressing against my chest, keeping me from breathing. "What do you mean, you forgot? What could I have forgotten?" In the morning, Lily was acting even more aloof. She barely spoke, avoided looking me in the eye. I tried to make conversation, but every time she found an excuse to leave the room. I didn't know if it was me going crazy or if she was hiding something. All day I couldn't get my thoughts together. Work was standing still, the notifications on my laptop were annoying. I closed it and went outside. I needed to talk to Jack. Maybe he knew something. I walked up to his house, knocked. Jack opened almost immediately, as if he'd been expecting me. "Did you hear it, too?" He asked me at once, looking me carefully in the eye. "Yes. And I saw it," I answered. "Lily came to see me last night, but she claims she didn't come into the room." Jack frowned. "Look, I didn't mean to scare you, but you should know. This isn't the first time." He invited me onto the porch and lit a cigarette. The smoke from his cigarette rose slowly toward the overcast sky. "A couple lived here before you. The husband, calm, quiet, but the wife, well, she was strange. I saw her at night, walking around the house, talking to herself. He complained that she breathed in his face, stood by his bed at night and whispered things. I thought she was just crazy." Jack lingered, as if trying to find the words. "And then this guy disappeared. The wife told the police he just left. But you know what? I'm pretty sure he didn't leave, she did something to him. The police found no evidence, so they closed the case." I felt the blood drain from my face. "You're telling me that, Lily?" "I don't know what's going on, Dan. But if you start to feel like someone's around when she's not, don't let it go." I came home. Lily was sitting in the kitchen, flipping through a magazine. I tried to calm down, but Jack's words were going through my head. She noticed my gaze and frowned. "What are you looking at?" she said. "I was just trying to figure out why you'd come to my place at night and then say you didn't," I blurted out. Her face contorted. "I didn't come over. You're delusional. Maybe you're the one with the head problem." I felt something inside me break. Anger flooded my mind. I grabbed the camera and threw it on the table. Then explain this, I shouted. She froze, staring at the camera as if it were a poisonous snake. Don't know what it is, her voice shook. Lily, if this is a joke, stop it. You're scaring me. She recoiled, tears glistening on her cheeks. I really didn't come. I'm scared to sleep alone. I hear footsteps. Lily covered her face with her hands. Something inside her shivered. If she was telling the truth, then who was standing by my bed? I locked myself in my bedroom and turned on my laptop. Started looking for articles on sleepwalking. Maybe she just didn't remember walking at night. But all the descriptions spoke of unconscious movements, not purposeful actions. Plus, her whispering on the video sounded clear and meaningful. I found a strange discussion on one of the forums. People were talking about houses that remember. Allegedly, in places with severe emotional trauma, there are echoes of the people who lived there. They can manifest as sounds, shadows, voices. I felt like an idiot, but kept reading. One comment stuck out. If the shadows are whispering in your ear, it's not them trying to connect. It's your own memory trying to remind you of what you've forgotten. Late that night, I heard the rustling in the hallway again. I couldn't wait any longer. I opened the door and stepped out into the dark hallway. Silence. I listened, trying to catch any sound. And then again, a slight inhale, an exhale. I turned around, no one. Then I noticed the door to the guest bedroom was ajar. I went closer. Lily was lying on the bed, but she was sleeping restlessly, twitching in her sleep. I wanted to wake her, but suddenly I noticed a shadow standing by her bed. A tall figure, indistinct in the darkness. I jerked back and slammed into the wall. When I looked again, the shadow was gone. Lily woke up to a noise and cried out when she saw me in the doorway. Dan. What are you doing here? She asked with a tremor in her voice. Just checking, I mumbled. You're scaring me, Lily whispered. I closed the door silently and walked back into the bedroom. I was dizzy with fear and incomprehension. I didn't know what to do next. Maybe I really was going crazy. Before I went to bed, I decided to review the camera footage again. But when I opened the file, there was only black video with indistinct whispers. I scrolled forward and at the last minute I noticed something strange. A face flashed on the screen. My face. But it was distorted, as if a shadow had fallen on one side. I looked closer and the eyes were empty, black. And the voice whispered again. You forgot. I dropped the camera from my hands. What had I forgotten? Why was that face on the tape mine? I could no longer ignore the obvious, something was wrong. My thoughts raced from one suspicion to the next. Lily, Jack, that missing husband, and that voice, my voice on the tape, but completely foreign. I didn't know how to explain it any other way than bloody. The next day, I felt cornered. Lily was still just as silent, avoiding conversation. I tried to start a conversation with her over breakfast, but she only threw it irritably. Stop looking at me like I'm the enemy. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. You're acting weird, I said, holding back my anger. Me? You're the one acting crazy. Lily raised her voice, and I realized that it was useless to talk. I decided it was time to go to a counselor. I couldn't find answers on my own. All day long I went over this plan in my head until I noticed that Lily had disappeared from the house. I went to Jack's house to talk to him again. He was standing on the porch sharpening his knife. When I approached, he nodded faintly. You look like shit, he said. Yeah. Jackie, listen. Do you ever get the feeling that you're not alone in the house, even when there doesn't seem to be anyone else? Jack stopped, looked me in the eye. Did you see him? He asked quietly. Who? The one who lives in the house. He, sometimes takes your face. I froze. What are you trying to say? Jack wiped his knife on his apron and raised his head. The couple that lived before you. He kept saying that he saw his reflection in the corner of the room, not in the mirror. And each time it looked distorted. He claimed that at night his doppelganger breathed in his ear and said something incomprehensible. His wife said it was nonsense. And then he disappeared. I felt cold goosebumps run down my back. Lily said she was afraid to go into the bedroom, I muttered. Maybe she saw him, too. Or maybe she thinks it's you. I came home in a half-awake state. Lily was still gone, but there was her note on the table. Gone to Sarah's for the night. I can't go on like this. You're scaring me. I realized I was alone. I decided to use the night as a test. I got my camera out, put it on a tripod by the bed and left it on. But this time I wanted to see what was happening in real time. I connected the camera to my laptop and sat down in the chair across from the bed. The clock showed almost midnight. I sat in the semi-darkness, feeling like a complete idiot. Jack's words rolled around in my head, sometimes he takes on your face. An hour passed. Silence. I was starting to doze off when I noticed movement on the screen. Startled, I looked at the camera. A figure was standing by the bed. Tall, thin, with his head down. I turned sharply toward the bed, no one. But the shadow on the screen hadn't disappeared. I turned on the light, the room was empty. I went back to the laptop and rewound the tape. The screen showed me sitting in the chair. Then a black screen for a couple seconds. And then me again. But something was wrong. My eyes were completely black in the video. And I was smiling. I frantically turned off the laptop. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid it would jump out of my chest. I replayed over and over in my head, that's not me. It's not me. Then I heard footsteps. They were approaching the bedroom door. I froze, pressing myself against the wall. The door opened, and I saw Lily's face. Dan. What are you doing here? She asked confused. You said you went to Sarah's, I blurted out. Lily looked at me strangely. I just got back. I forgot my phone. You texted me yourself to come over. I froze. I didn't. Lily, who texted you? She held out her phone, there was a message. Lily, come back. I'm scared alone. The message had been sent from my number. Lily looked at me with horror. Dan, you're really scaring me. What's going on? I didn't write it. Then who did? We were both silent, not knowing what to do. I looked around the room, everything was in place. Lily sat on the bed, covering her face with her hands. I tried to calm her down, but that's when I noticed something in the mirror. A reflection of the bed. But it wasn't Lily sitting on it, it was me. The shadow in the reflection turned around, looking me straight in the eye. The face was mine, but with the same black void in place of eyes. It smiled and said, "You weren't supposed to see that." I shrieked and covered the mirror with the bedspread. Lily jumped up, not realizing what was happening. "What's the matter with you?" she screamed. "It's not you. It's not me," I couldn't formulate a single thought. At that moment, there was a knock on the window. Lily ran up to it and awed. "It's Jack. He's standing there watching." I looked out, Jack was standing in the street, looking right at us. He was holding the knife again and shouting. "It's not him. Can you hear me? It's not him." I realized something terrible was happening. Lily recoiled from the window and I heard a whisper behind me. "You forgot. I'm here." I couldn't believe what was happening. Lily was standing next to me, pale as chalk, and Jack kept pounding on the window, shouting something inaudible. His face was contorted with rage, his eyes burning with madness. I didn't know whether to believe Jack's delusions or my own eyes. "Open up!" Jack shouted. "You know it's not him." Lily grabbed my shoulder with trembling hands. "Dan, what's going on? Why is he yelling like that?" "I don't know," I said, though I knew something wasn't adding up. I strode determinedly to the door and opened it wide. Jack burst into the house, clutching a knife. "Why did you let her back in?" he wheezed. "Let who in?" "That's my wife." I shouted back. "She's not what she seems. Have you seen her in the mirror? Have you heard her at night?" Lily screamed. "Get the knife away from us. You're out of your mind." Jack looked at her as if he'd seen a ghost. "She's not your wife." She's his shadow. I froze. Everything inside of me was a tight knot. What are you talking about? I wheezed, keeping my eyes on Lily. There was a man here once. He said his wife turns into something else at night. He said her eyes would turn black and her face would stretch unnaturally. He tried to run away, but the next morning he just disappeared. And she said he was gone. I looked at Lily. She was crying, but her gaze was somehow cold, detached. Dan, please don't listen to him. She whispered, holding out her hand. But I didn't move. If you let her in, it's too late, Jack said. She knows you can hear your breathing. She wants to take your place. Lily screamed. You're confusing him. It's all you. You've always been obsessed with this nonsense. Jack shook his head and looked at me. Show her the camera footage. If she's the real Lily, she won't be scared. I turned on the camera and showed Lily the moment where she stood by the bed and whispered. Her eyes widened and her hands trembled. It wasn't me. She whispered. I don't remember it. Because it's not you. Jack stepped closer, but I blocked Lily. Stay away from her. I shouted. You're not protecting your wife. You're protecting something that's already replaced her, Jack said quietly. Lily hugged me from behind, pressing her face against my shoulder. Please, don't believe him. It's all his bullshit. You know me. I'm your Lily. I felt her breath slide down my neck. But something was wrong. Her hands were cold as ice. I looked at her reflection in the mirror across the hall. Lily's face was contorted and her eyes were black. I pushed her away and backed away from Jack. Lily froze, as if she had lost control of her body. You're not my wife, I whispered. She froze, then smiled slowly. I finally get it, Dan. You're mine now. Jack abruptly grabbed my hand and pulled me outside, slamming the door shut. I heard Lily with the same creepy smile yelling from inside the house. Dan! Come back. It's me. I love you. Jack and I ran outside. He grabbed me by the shoulders and whispered. You can't go back in there. She remembered your face. What's going on? Who is she? I gasped in horror. It's not her. It's what's left of that woman. It's taking the form of those who let it in. At that moment, I saw my reflection in the window, black eyes, a crooked smile. I recoiled, feeling reality crack. It's her inside you, Jack whispered. She's trying to take your place. I realized, if I stayed, she would become me. I looked at the house. Lily wasn't calling anymore, but there was a silhouette in the window. My silhouette. I realized that if I went back in, I wouldn't get out. Jack was pulling me toward his car. Let's go. We have to go. You can't stay here. What about Lily? I asked, not believing what was happening. If you want to survive, forget her. And forget this house. We drove away. I didn't turn around, but I could feel the shadow in the window watching us. Jack was silent, but I knew he wasn't surprised. It wouldn't be the first time. It's been a month. I'm living in a motel on the outskirts of town. Jack checks on me every day, like he's afraid I'll disappear. I heard the house was sold. The new tenants moved in yesterday. I tried to find out who they were, but Jack said. It's best to stay out of it. Let them decide if they're ready for the truth. I don't hear breathing at night anymore. But sometimes, when I look in the mirror, it seems to smile a little wider than it should. And that's when I remember Lily's words. You forgot. I'm here. Sometimes shadows aren't a reflection of your past. Sometimes shadows are you.